You know, my name is Praveen, and I'm one of the lead technical consultants here at ManageEngine. First of all, I welcome all of you. I thank all of you for taking the time to be a part of this webinar series. Before we jump right into the session, can you take like 2 seconds and let me know if you can hear me better and if you can see my screen better, so we can start with confidence. Can you use the chat option and let me know, please? Great, guys. Thanks a ton for that. Thanks a ton for the messages. So before we get into the session, a few things about the logistics. Number one, this session will be recorded. And once we're done with the session in a couple of days, our team will be sending the recording to you over an email. That's one. And number two, I have one of my teammates on the session with me. So if you have any questions, you can put it on the Q&A option over there, and we will be answering them during the session itself. But for some reason, if we miss out answering a question, I apologize for that in advance. But we will make sure to get back to you. I will make sure to get back to you with an email once I'm done with this session. Okay, so that's all with the prerequisite. So let's jump right into the core concept of why we all gathered today. ManageEngine ADAudit Plus. So today we will be looking into a tool called as ADAudit Plus from ManageEngine, and we will be discussing about what is this tool. Why would you need a tool like this to audit your Active Directory or Windows environment, and how is it going to ease your life once you bring it inside your domain? How is it going to make your life a little bit easier when compared to before? Because that's the whole point, right? So you might be looking into an auditing solution. Either one, you might be an existing customer for ADAudit Plus, looking into understand what else the product can do. That could be one. Or number two, like you could be a customer for some other tool in the market, and it's just looking for a better option in the market. That's number two. Or number three, you're still using PowerShell commands over there. If you're a pro in PowerShell, you're still using PowerShell commands to get reports and from even viewer from your Active Directory, and you just want to automate a few of them. You want to cut down your load, by a little bit amount over there. So you could be looking into a tool like ADAudit Plus, and that could also be for two big reasons over there. Number one is you just want to be compliant, because let's say once in a year, once in 6 months, if an auditor walks in, you have to produce them reports of what are all the changes that happened in your domain for the past 1 year, right? So getting all these reports on demand when the auditor asks you something is close to impossible because of a few reasons over there. Number one, let's imagine you're a site which has two DC, you're a company which has like 10 different sites over there, and you do have two different domain controllers in each and every single site. So we sum it up to 20 different domain controllers, right? So if you want to find out something, you will have to log on to each and every domain controllers in viewer, and then you will have to search, just surf through thousands of logs, if not, millions of logs. I have seen that in some domains, and then trying to find that one specific event, that you actually looking for. That's close to impossible, right? Or now, let's say, for example, you're ready to do that. You're ready to, surf through all these hundreds and thousands of events and then find what you exactly want. But will you have those events? Let's say in 2022 Jan, you want to know what exactly happened in 2021 February. The possibilities of you having that is close to impossible, because your event viewer will overwrite all these information by default, and you will not have the information if you want to backtrack. That's number one. Or let's say you're a bit more proactive. You save all the event viewer logs on your domain controllers or on a chat folder. Then there comes a problem as well. You cannot archive them. You cannot compress them. So they will take a lot of space on your servers over there, right? So these are all the main pain points of an admin when coming to an auditing perspective. You cannot get all those reports in one single place. You cannot get notified about when something important happens or when an anomaly happens in a domain. So that's what ADAudit Plus is all about. So that is why you need ADAudit Plus, and that is how it's going to solve your life, your auditing requirements over there. So the tool can sit on one domain, on a server. It can talk to all the domain controllers in real time, gather the information from real time from all the domain controllers over there, and save them in one centralized database. What it might be a Postgre or an MS SQL, whatever you want over there. And whenever you want to know about anything that happened in a domain, it has a neat dashboard telling you all the changes over there. You can simply go to the reports and get whatever report that you're interested in. It's that simple. A single click will get you all the reports over here. And it has alerting functionality, which can drop you a notification when something wrong or when something important happens in your domain. It can also take actions on your behalf. So that's what ADAudit is all about, and that is what we're going to see, to a great extent. The great features available, how you can utilize these features, and a few use cases which might use your life, when you install ADAudit. So that's what we're going to see right now. Okay, so with no further ado, let's jump right into the everything, right from the installation configuration to how the product works, what are all the reports available, right? So let's jump into that. The product installation is pretty simple. If you haven't done it yet, I recommend you just go to ADAudit.com and you have a single exe file over there. Just download it and just unpack it. 15 minutes tops, the product will get installed and everything will happen on the background. When you log in, you will have the domain configured in the tool automatically, the parent domain. The domain controllers will be populated. Every single object will be populated. You do not have to do anything manually on the background at all. 15 to 30 minutes tops, depending on the domain size, you will have every single thing populated over there. So once you log in, you will just have to enable audit policies on your domain, assuming you will have them enabled already. Once you have that, the product will start consuming data almost immediately. The second it just gets installed in your domain. That's number one. Or number two, if you do not have the audit policies, the product can help you with it. It'll throw you a banner, and by clicking on that button, the product will push all the audit policies for you automatically. That's one. Right. And when coming to log collection, you will have to give an account for ADAudit Plus, a service account. We have a configuration guide with which you can create the account. So once you're done with that, two options: one, agent-based log collection, and agent-less log collection. Right. So why I'm covering all this in the demo webinar, because you guys, the biggest question is when coming to security products and everything, the architecture, how it collects logs, and what ports are being used, what protocols are being used. That will be the main question. So I'm trying to cover the basic things on all of them. But if you have in-depth questions on ports or protocols, architecture, whatever you might have, just send them through the Q&A option and I'll make sure I'm answering them for you, okay? So that's one. So you can choose any one of these options and the product will start collecting the data in real time from your domain controllers over there, or member servers, or file servers, or workstations, whatever it might be, a Windows environment, right? So once that's done, the first tab, dashboard tab. So this is nothing but a great graphical representation of the top changes happening in your domain. So if you look here, you will have neat graphs telling you about all the changes happening in your domain. On the top of that, you will have all these critical alerts, all the alerts that have been pushed out from the product on the right hand side as well. So you have a neat dashboard over here. And the best part is you can get this customized. You can modify these graphs, you can add some new graphs or remove them if you think that's not required over there. That's number one. Or the second one, the summary view, this will make a lot more sense for you, right? Because this has all the information. We know that tons of events can happen on Active Directory, right? So it'll be object modification or anything. So if you look here, the product will have all these info right from the logon happening in your domain to user creation, computer account modification, GPO changes, might be FISMA roles being moved from one DC to another, DNS changes, schema extensions. Name a change in Active Directory, you will have that over here listed in this summary view report, right? That's the best part. And you can get the schedule. You can just put in your entire IT team's deal over here, and the product will get this email sent out to you on a daily basis at 5 a.m. in the morning. Right. So you just step into the office or you just log in for the day. You know exactly what happened in your office the previous day. So if you think 783 user modification is something way out of the line, you can just click on that hyperlink. The product will take you into that report. So you can find out what exactly happened over there. Great, neat insight on your Active Directory. Right? So that's all with the dashboard. The next one is reporting tab. So we have tons of, at least 300 plus canned reports, out of the box reports available, in this product over here. So for that reason, I'm going to skip a few. You can just ping me if you find something else interesting, or if you think I'm missing out something important or some use case. Just keep sending your questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. So the first one is user logon reports. That's the first category. So this is nothing but the authentications happening in your domain, right? So let's say I open up my laptop, I put in my username and password right now. So every logon has two phases. The first thing is I need to contact the domain controller, get my username and password verified over there, right? So that's the first phase, the authentication. And that is what you see underneath user logon reports over here. So we track the authentications happening in your domain to a great extent because of two big reasons. Number one is, we think that brute force, the password spray, these common attacks, right? The trial and error method attacks, they are age old, they are dinosaurs when coming to attacks, but they are still happening in every single domain. And that too, with this situation, people being working from home, malwares get infected, attacks is, happening on a large scale right now. So, if you're an admin who want to be proactively understand what is happening, in your domain, you would want to track the authentications happening over there, anomalies happening in authentication. That's number one. That's the reason number one. And reason number two is every single domain has this problem: frequent account lockouts, frequent login failures, right? So every single help desk team has this problem where people keep complaining their account gets locked out, the multiple login failures over there. So until we get to the bottom of that, fix it, that will be a problem for you as well, right? So let me show you how ADAudit can help you in both these cases. If you look here, this guy, let's assume it's actually a normal user account instead of a service account, 8360, and he, this guy has failed like 17,000 times in the past 24 hours. So two possibilities: one, an attack, or number two, stale password. That's all the major two possibilities what we can have over here, right? So what I'm doing right now is I'm creating an alert in the tool to tell you whenever an authentication happens in your domain, right? So let me show you here all user logons. And again, why I'm showing you this, just to tell you how easy it is to get alerts configured in the tool, how easy it is to customize the alerts for your requirement over there. And again, I'm not interested in all the logon failures, all the logons happening. I'm interested only in the failures that are happening in my domain. So that's simple. Event type contains failures. That's it. Now the product will drop me a notification only when a failure authentication happens in my domain. And again, I'm not interested in all the failures that is happening. I want to know only when an anomaly, an attack happens in my domain. So I have to put a threshold 10 times within 1 minute. And if it happens for the same user account, or if it happens for multiple people, but all of them happens for from one single IP address, then it could be brute force, or it could be a password spray over there, right? So in this case, the product has the option to drop you an email notification or an SMS notification in real time when that happens over there. So you can barge in, see what's exactly happening, take control of the situation over there. That's number one, right? You can tell me it's a bit reactive, like you'll have to put in options over there, right? But again, you can also make it a bit more proactive. Why do you need that? Let's say, for example, you're still using an 8-character password, and if I am using a tool like Hydra to breach inside a domain, it's going to take hardly 4.5 hours. That's all it's going to take for that malware, the brute force to be a successful one. Yeah, and if this is happening on a Sunday morning, let's say, for example, so how many of email the product sends you or SMS you get from the product, the probability of we barging in is pretty thin if you're not on call. We'll have to accept that, right? So for that sake, you can get some extra help from the tool. Execute script options over there. So the product accepts, PowerShell command, Visual Basic command, or let it be batch files over there. Let's imagine, I have a PowerShell command, a PS1 file, which can disable an Active Directory account, and it can shut down a computer. Let's say, for example. So in this case, when my computer is infected and when my account is being compromised over there, the product will drop my admin a notification about it. But at the same time, it'll call this particular batch file, the script file over there, and it'll pass these variables, whatever variables you select over there, right? So I'm passing the IP address and the username over here. That's all. So once that is done, that particular script file will disable my Active Directory account, and it will shut down the computer. So the product helps you stop an attack right at the point when it's happening in your domain. That's the best part over there. And customizing these script options or customizing these alert profiles is completely to your imagination. You can take a complete control of your Active Directory changes happening over there, or anomalies happening, attacks happening in your domain. That's the first option. So the second one, not every single login failures or account lockouts or attacks. We all know that, right? Stale passwords. I might be using tons of mobile devices, some overactivity, or a couple of applications installed on my computer. So all these things, services, scheduled tasks, whatever it might be. So when you guys push a password policy for me, I will change my domain password, but I might forget changing in all these other components because it happens always, right? So that's the whole point. So you don't have to break your head log. I'm not telling you cannot do all this, but again, think about the man hours. You will have to VNC into that particular computer, go through all the basic Windows components. Once you find nothing is available over there, credential manager and all this stuff, you will have to log on to the Exchange server, read the IE logs over there. understand if there was any overactivity or how many devices this guy has active sync enabled. So all these options, you will end up spending a lot of man hours on that, right? So that's when ADAudit can help you on this case as well. If you click on this details button, the product will scan the target computer from where the authentication failure came in from, and it will tell you if any one of the basic Windows components, like a service or schedule task, network drives being mapped over there, we can tap into the process list and tell you if any one of these is holding the username and password or not. So on top of that, if you find your Exchange server on this client hosting, it means it could be an overactivity or it could be from an active sync enabled device. So in that case, the product can also read the IAS logs on your Exchange server and tell you if there was any overactivity, get you the information about it, get you the list of active sync enabled devices with the device ID. So you find 4 or 5 probabilities of one happening, one having the bad password is too high over there, right? So that's how ADAudit Plus can give you a great push start in fixing the frequent account lockers over there. Right, so that is all with the authentication piece. What I want to talk about, in the rest, everything you see underneath over here, I just group things based on some use cases. But this one, users logged into multiple computers, that will definitely give a hand at times for us. Let's imagine this one, right? So if I have an issue with my laptop, I will take my laptop to my pit stop, where my admin sits over there. He will log in with his admin account, fix the problem, log out, and then he will have to hand the laptop back to me. So let's say he forgets logging out of his account. If I am a rogue user, if I just want to make a perfect attack, or if I want to do some mischievous activities over there, I can either do the attack from his account, or number two, I can elevate my own privilege, lay low for a couple of months, and then I can make a clean attack when you're least expecting that, right? So that's the whole point. And tracking all these loopholes is very important as well. So what you can do is you can track this report. Let's say I schedule this one and I get an email once in an hour, and see, if my account is, let's say, I'm an admin. So if my account is being used on the second computer, I will have to make sure that I have logged off from the previous computer. Or you can send it to your entire IT team's deal over there, so everyone can, be proactive. Or you can at least know who you will have to get in touch or backtrack and find what exactly happened. So that's what with the users logged into multiple computers is all about. And before we get into the next concept, I have a question from Aditel. Is it required to install the agent on the client machines, or ADAudit Plus can collect the info without the agent being installed? I'm sorry for not being clear on that part. So as I told before, you can either install the agents or you can go with an agent-less method. So if you deploy an agent, the product agents will sit on the respective machines over there, workstation or servers or domain controllers, read the logs locally, and then point them back to the product over the HTTP port number. That's what will happen. If you do not install the agent, the product will communicate with the machines, the domain controllers, or any machine configured using remote RPZ queries or remote WMI queries based on interest, and then we can collect the logs using Windows API. So that's the only difference. But you can choose any which method based on your requirement, either agent-based or agentless. Right? Sorry for the delay in answering your question. Right. So the next one is local logon logout. So as I told you before, every logon has 2 phases, right? The first one is authentication, and that is what we saw all this time. The second one, right? So once the authentication is done, once you got the username and password verified, that's when the actual logon happens, and that happens on the physical workstation where I typed in my password, right? So where you punched in the password or where you remoted it. So that's what local logon is all about. So we can talk to independent workstations, gather the logs from the security logs over there, and we track every single kind of logons. Let it be interactive, remote interactive, cache interactive, backfill execution, service startup, network logon, whatever it might be. And we track every single kind of logon. Let it be the time a user makes a logon, the time a user initiates a log off, the time a user locks his computer, unlocks his computer, the time difference between the lock and unlock, and all these options over there. Right? So you can ask me why, we just keep all of them jumbled over here, but we can correlate all these information. Let's imagine, I logged in today by 10 a.m. and I just locked my computer by 11. And again, I just do not do anything, for the rest of the day. It looks like I logged in, I was doing something for the entire day, right? But the product will correlate all these information again by 3 a.m. tomorrow. So it'll see that Praveen is logged in by 10. He has locked his computer by 11. But after that, until 11:59 p.m., he never unlocked his computer. So I'll assume that I watched the total hours of my work is 14 hours on that day, 10 to 12 actually. But it'll just throw you a report this way. Let me just get you the report. Right. So this is how the report will look like. right? So the guy's name, whatever computer he was using for that particular day, and on top of that, he will understand the total hours. In that total hours, how much time I was active and how much time I was idle. If you want to understand the time frame of the idle computer, meaning the computer was in locked state over there, you can click on the hyperlink, and it will exactly understand from in which time frame the computer was in locked state. So you can put this to use for any which reasons you want, or you might be a company who wants to make sure the employees are working for so and so time over there, or it could be for you could be a company to make sure employees are not working for more than a specific amount of time. So it could be any which of two reasons over there. So you can put these reports to use. So the next one is we track every single kind of logons, like radius logons. If you have a network policy server, you can track the local logons happening through NPS over there. Or let's say if you guys are hybrid, if you have O365, or if you have a couple of cloud-based applications where you use ADFS to provide authentication, we can talk to your ADFS servers as well. We can tell you whenever when the authentication happens, success and failure. And if you have a proxy server configured, we can tell you about the external lockouts happening in your domain as well. So all these options over there, right? So that is all with the logon piece of the tool. And now we are moving a bit into the object portion. So to start with objects, the first one, let me start with a simple one, user object. So we track, kind of a history for the object over there, the time that they created, any changes happened to them, any attribute modifications over there to the time they deleted. We track every single thing in real time. And this is how it's going to look like. Let me just get you a sample report. Recently created users. So you will understand who was created, who was responsible for this creation, when did this happen, and where did this happen. So these are the 4 Ws, what I would say, right? And this is what anybody who is looking in for a solution, from an auditing perspective, these 4 Ws will say, help you being compliant as well, right? And what action happened, who made that action, when and where did it take place. Those are the 4 Ws you want from an auditing standpoint, from a compliance standpoint. And any report, whatever you touch within ADAudit Plus, is going to get you that information very neatly over there, right? So to do a great neatly over there. And I have a similar question over here. I can answer that question. So from Adrian, so can you add extra columns to the user logon report? So I'm going to answer that over here itself. So any report, whatever you touch within ADAudit Plus, you have add or remove columns over here. So you have every single attribute that is available in Event Viewer. So you can either add or remove columns, from any of these reports that is available, within ADAudit Plus. Believe we answered your question. Right. So that's all with the user management, the first option, user creation over there. So any other reports, whatever you see underneath, deletion, creation, enable, disable, modification, whatever, will have the same kind of information. And we have some good reports like password never expires set users. So while creating users, if we do not have a tool like AD Manager and an Active Directory in a management solution, if you have the HD technicians create users, if they do 15, 20 technicians, probabilities of they checking the boxes, raising the flag is pretty simple over there, right? So, but that will defy the compliance as well. So you can get notifications sent out to you whenever any user account gets created with that particular flag raised, or if that particular flag gets raised for any existing user accounts, you can get a notification and just verify it and revert it if that's not an approved change over there. So these are all the options how we can put this to use. So one other thing is, we might be having a few custom attributes as well, right? So let's say, for example, let's take a simple example that somebody modified my location from India to the UK or the US. So for my admin, he will understand that something got changed in Praveen's account over there, right? It'll be great to understand what attribute was exactly modified. And on top of that, he will be so happy if he understands what was the old value and what is the new value as well, right? And that is what ADAudit Plus can give my admin. He can understand which user account was modified, who was responsible for that particular modification. The same thing, when did this happen, where did this happen, all these info. But on top of that, you can understand which attribute was exactly modified, and also the old and new values over there. So this should be more than enough. If you get this report instantaneously, you can revert it if that's not an approved change. You know what exactly you will have to revert, or you will have a neat report to provide to auditor when the auditing takes place over there. So that's what the user attributes, old and new values is all about. So one other thing, what I want to talk to you about under the user management is user services. Give me 1 second, please. Thank you. So this one is a bit out of the box report, what I would say. let's say, for example, we have tons of service accounts over there, right? So tons of service accounts, and we run all the service account on multiple servers, having multiple applications, and we do not reset the password for those service accounts that frequent, right? To make sure the application doesn't go down. But again, let's say for compliance per se, we reset the password. It would be great to have an inventory, the list of computers that is using this particular service account over there. So what you can do is you can choose that particular service account or a few service accounts of the interest over here, and target all the computers in your domain. So if you have hundreds or thousands of computers, I would say, run this report on the weekend, or might be like, Friday evening or Friday morning, right? Because it might take a long time. We scan all the computers using Windows APIs over there. So once done, it just hit this run button. So once the scan is done, you will get a neat report, an inventory with the name of the computer that is using the service account, which service within that computer is using the service account, and like, what is the current status of that particular service? Is it like, running, or is it stopped, and all this information over there. So that is how, the user service can help you. You can make a clean service account password reset, or you can make a clean offboarding. When people get out of the company, you can make sure if he is an admin, you can make sure he's not going to be paying in the future with some wrong and unknown username, password, failures over there, logon failures, right? So that's all with the user management. Now we're stepping a bit into privilege escalation over there, right? So the next one is group management. Because when you talk about privilege escalation, the first thing at least comes to my mind will be group modification. But the whole point is like we will be paying attention towards your domain admin or enterprise admin over there. But that's not the whole case, right? So you will be having some application groups, or your SQL groups over there, which still will have some level of access and elevated access on your domain. And most of the times that could be more than enough for an attacker over there, right? So tracking the changes happening to all of the important security groups is very critical over there. And for that reason, we track right from the time they're getting created, any attribute changes to them, to the time they deleted, people being added to groups, removed from groups, and all these options in real time over there for you, right? And you can create alert profiles as well. Whenever somebody gets added or removed inside my admin groups, you can select the groups over there. The product can drop you notification. I did show you how to create the alert profiles, right? So the same way you can create for group modification, and the product will exactly drop you notifications over there. And if you look at the report, it looks, it looks very neat over here. Which group was modified, who was added inside the group, who was responsible for that particular addition right now. Again, when did this happen? Where did this happen? All these information. Neat, great information for you over there. Right, so that is all with the user management, the first level of privilege escalation. So the next important category, what I want to talk to you about is GPO management. I understand GPOs are very critical over there. I believe every single one of us on this session right now will agree to that. So let's say, I just want to see my network go down. Just one perfect change on my GPO will make sure that happens, right? So let's not take some complex examples right now. Let's take a simple example. Imagine, I'm just modifying the account lockout policy in my company from 5 to 0 to make sure nobody gets locked out in my domain. Let's say, for example, right? So and now what do we have actually? So we have a maximum of a 10-minute window before the replication kicks in. If the GP template gets copied to all these syswalls on your domain controllers, that's it. That will be the new rule moving forward, new policy, 0, nobody will get locked out in your domain, right? So catching what exactly happened within that particular time frame before the replication kicks in is the biggest point over there. If it's a manual replication, we can't help that, right? But that's the whole point. So why I'm telling this is, your GPOs have 5,000 plus settings, in one GPO over there, right? So tracking exactly which setting was modified is a great, it's close to impossible if we are not a pro in PowerShell. So that's when ADAudit comes into the picture, and that's why we have two sets of reports for GPOs over here. Number one is GPO management, and we can tell you whenever a new GPO gets created, deleted, the link changes, get you in a GPO history, all those basic options, undeleted and those stuff. So all you will get is the version numbers, how you see on the event viewer. That's all you will get, with some neat information like old values and new values over here. But all of them will be version numbers as well, right? So if you look here, you will understand the SACLs, the auditing, the ACLs, the permission, the owner information over here. So that is what you get here. But we have the second set of changes, that the GPO setting changes over here. So what happens is, if you want this category to work, there are two criteria. Number one, you will have to be on the professional edition of the tool. Standard license doesn't have the GPO setting changes over there. And number two, you will have to have GPMZ feature enabled on the server where you have installed ADAudit. So once you're done with that, The product can talk to your GPOs whenever a change happens over there, take a copy of them as XML files, verified with the previous copy, and exactly tell you what was the previous change. Which setting was exactly modified. If you go to show details, the product will exactly tell you which setting was exactly modified, what was a change type, was it an addition or removal. On top of that, what was your old value and what is the new value as well. And this applies to mostly every single important category of setting that is available within a GPO. So this will be more than enough to get you a great, neat insight on the changes happening to your group policy objects over there, right? So apart from that, one other thing is what I want to talk about when coming to privileges getting escalated is permission changes over there, right? Because if you have an Active Directory management solution, you would have already cleaned up your Active Directory. You would have stopped delegating access to your help desk technicians over there. Let's say either you have or you do not have. It is very important to track the permission changes in your domain, right? Because a wrong level of delegated access to a wrong person on an elite OU, that could mean a lot of things over there, right? So, and again, if you just go to your domain, right click, go to the ACLs tab over there, you will find hundreds of ACLs. So finding what exactly modified is, again, very tough job over there, right? But it's very simple with ADAudit. You will understand which OU's permission was modified. Again, all those info, who was responsible, when did this happen, where did this happen, all those info. But if you come to the remarks over here, you will understand what was that one particular ACL that got modified among those hundreds. Was it an addition or removal? Who was the target principal? All these information over there. On top of that, you will get the old and new values as well. Talking about values, SACLs, auditing, DACLs, your permissions, the owner information, all these information for the old and new over there. Right, so this goes right from your domain level permission changes to your DNS permission changes over there. And talking about DNS, we can audit your DNS nodes or zones getting modified, remove changes, whenever your permission changes over there. We can also track these important changes to important objects, like your schemas getting extended, your FSMO roles being moved from one DC to another, or your local admin passwords being read, or your local admin passwords expiry dates being changed over there. So we can tap into all these options and get you a neat insight, which will help you be compliant or be on top of the changes happening on your Active Directory over there. Not only your on-prem Active Directory, the product can also talk to the Azure Active Directory and get you similar kinds of reports over there, right? From let it be user logon reports, or user management, role management, license management, multi-factor authentication, directory management, every single thing in one single pane of window. Hybrid Active Directory and Windows environment auditing solution. That's the first, phase, the first tab within ADAudit. So we still have a few more add-ons to look at. But before that, let me see if I got some questions. Just one second. Right. So, I got a question from Ivan, asking, that what if we do not have a domain? Can we still audit in a workgroup machine? So, Ivan, I would recommend, I would request you, please drop me an email. We will discuss about that. But yes, the product has options to connect you with, workgroup service also, and get you information. If you go to configuration, you will have options to configure workgroup service over here. You can configure workgroup service with independent username and password, and the product can still collect logs from them based on whatever fetch interval you give over here. It's completely possible, right? So please drop me an email. I'll share my email ID by the end of the session, and we can help you with that, right? So that's all with the main thing on the product, actually. So now moving on to the tabs available, the add-ons available in the tool. The first one is file auditing. So, tracking the changes to your file system activities is very important. I don't want to talk about how important that is because we all know that, right? So I'm going to skip that part right now, right? So let's see what can be audited within ADAudit. We can audit the Windows file servers, failover clusters, and talking about NAS devices, we can audit your NetApp servers, EMZ servers, Isilon, VNX, Celeron, and stuff like that. We can audit your Synology devices. We can audit your Hitachi as well. And recently, we started auditing Huawei as well, so we can do that for you. So configuration is pretty simple, as I told you before. Just click on Add Server, select your servers over here, select the shared folders, and the product will get everything done for you. The audit policies, the SACLs, everything will get done automatically. So once you have configured the product, once you have configured the service, this is what you can get from the tool. Every single thing, files are getting created, deleted, modified, copy, pasted, being moved, every single thing, and a folder permission is getting modified. And this is how it looks like. Let's say file creation, you will understand on which server the file was created, what's the file's name over there, what's the location, the time when it was created, the date, the server, meaning from which machine it was created, all these information over there, right? And the same thing is what's going to look like for all these options over here: renamed, copy pasted, moved, and all these options over there. And when coming to folder permission changes, I know that you will be interested in that, because you might be adding a lot of groups to folders. That is the best option. But if you're still adding individual user accounts, user objects into the groups, I would not recommend that. But still, let's say doing that, you would be having tons of user objects over there, right? So tracking what exactly got modified in the ACL is very critical as well. If we look here, I'm very sorry, guys. I'm just not so well, so and I just keep making the noise. I'm very sorry about it. So if you look here, you will understand which server this particular change happened, which folders permission got modified exactly, the location and all this stuff again. The product will exactly tell you which permission was modified. Was it an addition or was it removal? Who was the target principal? What are all the ACLs that were added for this particular person? A great information. So if you think that's not a perfect change over there, you know what exactly you have to revert. And on top of that, you will get the old and new values as well the same way. SACLs, auditing, the ACLs permissions, and the audit information on all this stuff over there. And we do not stop there. We also track the failed attempts on your file system as well. Because tracking just the successful events is not going to give you a great insight. Let's say, for example, if I belong to the IT team and I do not have access to the finance folder, I try and access it over there, I will get denied. But again, I shouldn't have done that on the first hand, right? So you by tracking all these changes, you can just find that something wrong is going to happen in the future, and you can stop it before even that happens. Or whether that's the whole point. So end of the day, you can group all these reports based on users and based on servers over there. Number one, let's say you group based on users over here, and if you find AD manager, let's say this is a legit user account, and he has made like some 500,000 events over there. That's humanly impossible. You will have to see what exactly happened. Or let's say, you see 5,000 over here. Out of those 5,000, you have like 10% failures, which means 500 events of failures over there. So you will have to again find out why 500 failures happen from this account, hold him accountable, see what exactly is happening. Either his account is being used by any service or batch files or whatever. Like, so you can find all these a great insight of this things happening on your file system. Or let's say summary based on servers, that will also help you a lot actually. Why? Because I've been there, I've done that. So when I just log into the help desk, when I used to work with the help desk team, when I just log in, at times I used to get a call from my users stating like, they had a file in this particular folder the previous day when they logged off, but it's not available right now. So we will restore the file for them. And again, we'll just break our head, we'll start sending queries inside the DNS system. We'll have to find out what exactly happened, see like if DFS has kicked it out, all these options, right? If it was quarantined and all these options over there. So, but what you can do, how the product can help you over here is we have a summary report over here. So, what could have happened for that particular file to that particular file? Number one, the major three possibilities: it could have either be renamed, or it could have been moved, or it could have been deleted over there. That's all it could have happened. Main three possibilities over there, right? So go to summary based on servers over there and find out how many files were deleted, how many files were renamed, and how many files were moved. So these we do script over here. So not these many actions should happen in your domain. So you can target exactly those files that are moved, renamed, or deleted, and you can exactly find out what happened to that particular file yesterday. So you can hold the people responsible who made that particular change over there. So this is the level of insight what the product gets you when coming to file system activity changes over there. So on top of that, you can exclude a few things as well if you're not interested in auditing a few file types or auditing a few service accounts like your DFS service account or might be processes or something like that, or a particular folder. You can do that over here. You can use the regular expressions, or you can use file types, file folder names, processes, user accounts, service accounts, all these options, and they will be excluded during the file auditing procedure over there. Right. So that's all with the file system. And the next add-on available in the tool is server auditing. So what is server auditing? What are member servers? So machines running with server operating system, and if they are not domain controllers, they are considered to be member servers within the product. And what you can achieve by licensing the member servers over here. And all this while we have been discussing about your domain user account changes, domain group changes, domain GPO changes, domain policy changes, all these stuff, right? But you do have important application servers in your domain. It is very important to track the changes happening to your local admin groups on those servers, local admin accounts, your local policies over there. So that is what you can get by adding your member servers within the tool as well. You can understand the local options happening, the local user account changes, local GPO changes, local member group membership changes, and all those options over there. That is what you get from here. So on top of that, if you have an ADLDS, you can audit that. If you have an LDAP server, you can understand what's happening. You can track the PowerShell modules being logged over there, or scripts blocking all these options when coming to PowerShell auditing over there. Or let's take a simple example. So all this while we told you the product can track whenever an anomaly happens in the domain. Whenever someone gets inside the domain, we can track that. Whenever someone gains access to to a group, we can track that. Gains access to a folder, we can track that. Copies them, paste them, puts them on an USB drive, thumb drive. We can track all of those options over there. So what if I belong to a finance team? I have access to these files already. I'm not printing, I'm just not copying any of them. Instead, I'm printing those documents, through your company's printer over there. That is something which we can audit pretty simple, but we are not shedding that much light on that part, right? But we can do that as well. The ADAudit can help you in that angle as well. You can add your printer server as a member server within the product, and we can tell you about who is printing what document, what's the size of document, how many pages, how many copies from what computer through what printer, and all these information over there. So you can hold people accountable if they print some company critical documents as well. And this is what I would say a complete info set. You have a complete visibility of your control on where your data is moving within a domain or outside the domain. That's the whole point, right? So that's all with the server auditing over here. And the last main feature I would say is analytics. So this guy is a machine learning within the tool, an unmanaged machine learning, not a managed one. So why did we bring this up? Because we all know, we did discuss about brute force, password spray, every known attacks over there. When we guess the username and password, trial and error method over there, the product can help you drop your notifications, call batch files, stop it from happening. These are traditional attacks, and a traditional software can help you with that. But let's say, for example, again, this is a simple attack. Let's say an ntds.dit extraction happens, right? Let's say I just took a shadow copy of the entire C volume on the Active Directory, took a copy of the Active Directory's database with the private keys over there, and all I have to do right now is run them through a Python script, and I will have all the username and password in clear text format with me. So I do not have to put in a wrong username and password moving forward. I can make a clean attack over here, right? So who will help you in this case? The analytics can help you. How? Because if you deploy the tool right now in your domain, for the next 7 days, the product will not be giving you any information over here under analytics. But again, it will be listening for every single chain that a particular person is doing on the background. On the 8th day morning, it'll crunch all the data and set a baseline for every single user object over there. Right? So, and whenever somebody deviates from that particular routine, the product can drop you a notification. So why? Because any attackers, it is very easy to steal somebody's username and password, but it is very hard to steal someone's behavior. That's how the product can help you over here. Let's take an example. The product knows that my colleague John, he logs in from only during the business hours, Monday through Friday. And number two, the product knows that John logs in only to John's PC over there, not on any other computer. And number three, John actually, let's say, touches like some 10 files from the IT folder. That is all he does. So what happens right now is I know John's username and password. I stole his username and password. When I just wake up on a Saturday morning, punch in his username and password, that will be tagged as an anomaly based on unusual business hour activity. My admin will be notified about it. And at the same time, you can call the script file, block this attack from happening. Right? Or number two, let's say I'm a bit smart, logging in on a Thursday when John is also logged in. That will also be tagged as an anomaly based on unusual host activity, because John has never logged in with John's account from Praveen's PC over there, right? Again, email, script file, done. Or number three, let's say John forgot to lock his computer. Let's say this pandemic is over, we all return back to the office. I'm sitting in front of John's computer right now, and I'm just trying to exfiltrate some data over there. So when I touch the 11th file, the product will tag that as an anomaly based on unusual volume of activity. Again, email sent, script file being called over there. It's that pretty simple, right? So this is how this analytics can help you. The anomalies under analytics can help you out over there. That's the first part. That's just the first part. The whole point is why wait until an anomaly happens? Assess the risk available in your domain right now so that you can stop an anomaly from happening tomorrow. That's the second part, risk assessment. So you have multiple reports over here, and let's take the first one. Users connected to most number of assets. If you look here, the first one is a service account. Let's say Harry is one of my admins over there. And if you look here, this guy has laid his footprint on 30 different computers. So you can get in touch with him, understand why he laid his footprint on 30 different computers, and if he denies it, it is actually something wrong over there. And if he is one of the important admins, understanding what exactly happened in your domain is very important as well, right? And it's pretty simple within the tool. All you have to do is go to the search option over here and search that particular person's username and password and select his user account. So you can go back even 1 year if you had the product installed for that amount of time over there. So once you might not have all the information over here, but what will happen is the product will get you everything, the object history for Harry, right? All the changes that happen on Harry's account, the logon history for Harry, all the logon information for Harry over here, and then it will also get you the object, the changes done by Harry, actions done by Harry as well. So everything, actions done on Harry, the logon information for Harry, and actions done by Harry. So all of these for the past 1 year in one single report. That's the best part, in a couple of seconds over there. So you can drill down and find what exactly happened. If this guy has modified tens of GPOs over there, find what exactly happened. If someone has modified this guy's account, might be a password reset has happened on this guy's account in a couple of days before, you can backtrack, find out who was the account that is responsible for this particular password reset, and just go on, just find what exactly happened. And that's the best part, right? Auditing is not always getting notifications when something wrong happens over there. It is about having an option where they can sit down, backtrack, and find out what exactly happened and how did this happen, so that it can stop it from happening in the future again. Having great visibility and stopping it from happening again is, at least, from my side, that's what I think, a great auditing tool is all about. And ADAudit does that to a great extent of it, right? So, very sorry, guys. Just give me 1 second. Great. Thank you. I think, I'm sitting very close to the sun right now. It's close to 40 degrees over here. So too much, right? So that's the whole point. The main features within the tool. So now coming to the admin portion, we have a few things that might interest you over here. Number one is you can add technicians to the product. There are tons of, you can either add everybody from your domain into the tool as technicians over there, or what you can do is you can create thousands, or hundreds of technician application specific technicians account. You can create roles. You can go to any granular level and provide access for your technicians in the tool. That's number one. Number two is alert new option. So you have configured multiple devices within the product. If any one of the devices stop reporting back to the tool can drop you a notification. That's what alert me is all about. Or number three, is if the tool itself goes down, if the tool service goes down, again, we can help you with that as well. You have a service monitor over here. So when you get that regenerated, the product will create a service account on the server where it's actually installed, and that's in a scheduled task will keep taking a look at that particular service of the product service. And if it goes down, the service, the scheduled task will drop you a notification over there. If the server itself goes down, we know the answer. Your ops tool will drop you a notification about it. Right, might be a trap notification, you will get that. So that's all with the main things over there. And the last one is archiving, because we discussed about the product stores all the information from all the devices in one centralized database. The product comes up by default with the PostgreSQL database. But if you guys want to use an MS SQL, we can help you with that. Point the product to an MS SQL server as well, no problem. But let it be Postgre or MS SQL. Both of these servers, databases will be in and up in a very short amount of time over there, right? So that's when archiving comes into the picture, because we are an auditing solution, we are a security software compliance tool. We cannot delete. There is no concept of purging the data, because you might need it after 1 year as well, right? So we cannot decide the time frame over here. So what you can do instead is you can schedule archiving, meaning you can choose how much amount of days, for how many days the product has to store the data within the database over there. So you can put in all these options over here. And once you're done with that, the product will scan the database every day at 2 a.m. in the morning. And if it finds out that any one of this particular category, and if it is just crossed this number of days over here, that particular data will be taken out and compressed. So we have designed in a way that, like, one database table will be holding approximately 500,000 entries, and that will contribute anywhere towards 800 MB or 1 GB over there. And that will be compressed to anywhere between 40 or 50 MB. We have 98% compression, and you can put it on whatever location you give here. Might be a NAS drive or network path or whatever it might be, provided the service account within ADAudit Plus has read and write privileges on that particular location. That's the whole point. And the last one is SIEM integration. So we have an SIEM tool called as Log 360 with us. But if you guys have something else, let's say Splunk, Logarithm Arcside or something like that, we can help you by sending the logs from ADAudit Plus to your SIEM solution for some correlation purpose as well. Right. So you can choose what logs have to be forwarded inside your SIEM solution. What kind of logs, the categories over there, and then you can decide if it's Splunk or Arcside. We have direct integrations with them, or if anything else, which listens for syslogs, if it listens for common event format, you can choose these tabs appropriately, put in the information over there, whatever port number it listens for syslogs or common event format logs, and we can convert a copy of logs, whatever you're collecting, into whatever format you have chosen, and send it to your SIEM server over there. Right. So the last one is support. Last but not least is support. So this is how you can get in touch with us 24/5. And we open Monday through Friday, and there is no constraint on the number of tickets you raise, the number of calls you make, a number of chats as you come in. We completely will have you back right during evaluation until forever. That's the whole point, right? So I'm completely done, with the demo what I had in my mind today. So I will be opening. I believe I have answered your questions, all your questions, which I received so far. I will answer. I'll just open the floor right now, so you can answer your questions. Ask your questions through the Q&A option. I will start answering them. But before that, it will be very helpful, if you can answer 2 polls for me. I just have 2 poll questions for you. I'm going to send them one by one on your screen right now. Will be great if you can take 10 seconds each and help me with the answers over there, right? The first one is coming on your screen right now. Okay. Thanks a ton for that, guys. Let's just give like 5 more seconds. We're still receiving responses over there. Great, that's done. And I'm just sending you the second poll. Please take another like 10 seconds and help me with the answers. Okay. Thanks a ton, guys. Thanks much for your time today. I believe the session was informative for you. So number one is I have my email on the screen. So if you have anything, like let it be comments or kudos, or some questions, or you want some help, maybe you want some trial license, want some help with some issues, whatever it might be, you can drop me an email at any point of time. Or you can also drop a support team an email, support@adauditplus.com, an email at any point of time, and we'll be more than happy to help you with that. Right?